welcome to everybody. Kind of the agenda for today is we're going to, why do I need to modernize my control system, right? That's the questions that we need to ask. And what is product life status when it comes to like Rockwell and Allen Bradley? How do I know where my product stands? What's used in my plant? What's the life cycle of it, right? Is it obsolete? Is it going to be around for a couple more years? We'll talk about what is the IAB, Integrated Architecture Structure Builder. We'll talk about that. And we'll do 3 examples. We're going to take a Slick 500 chassis, like a 504. Very simple. We're going to convert it to Compact Logix using 3 different methods. So you got 3 different ways you can do it to achieve the same goal. Again, why do we need to modernize? Again, avoid discontinued parts that are not available. Who's ran into that this year? Avoid downtime due to outdated components, right? Avoid costs associated with downtime. There's always a cost with downtime. And, as a controls engineer, when I approach purchasing or anybody else, and he can testify to that too, that there's always a value, right? And okay, well, it's going to cost this much to upgrade to get us up to this level. And they're, they'll kick and scream, right? But you sit there and go, well, how much does your downtime cost you? When a plant goes down, when the machine goes down, how much is that going to cost you? And I guarantee you that's going to be a lot more than it costs to fix this machine right here and upgrade it. So a lot of times we've got to justify that cost to purchasing or to our upper management. Avoid limited tech support on older systems. The guys in school today are getting trained more on the newer stuff rather than the older stuff. The guys that are older, including myself, going out, I'm 53, we're going on out. The guys that worked on the Slicks and the Slick 100s and 150s, we're aging out now. And the newer systems the guys are going to be working on, they don't really know about the older systems. Avoid compatibility issues with older software on newer PCs. Earlier, I asked the guys that were in here, I said, who's running some old laptops just because they can't transfer the program to a newer one? Everybody in here, right? I look at my new laptop, this new Dell right here, I got USB-Cs on there. Okay, where's my serial port? You know what I mean? So it's always changing. A lot of people are running VMware, they're running Windows 95, they're running older than that, just to maintain that software. Again, talking about unplanned downtime, I grabbed this off of Forbes. 82% of companies have experienced at least one unplanned downtime incident over the past 3 years. I can say in manufacturing, that is way off. Downtime all the time. Cummins, he's laughing, right? There's a lot of downtime. And especially if taking Cummins, right, they're building engines, right? And this process right here, if it goes down, it shuts down this process, shuts down this process. It's just a daisy chain effect, right? Exactly. So a lot of plants, they rely on reactive. We're reactive. Okay, it went down, we go fix it, or run to fail. We don't do PMs. We just let it run until it fails, then we go out and replace it, right? And hope we got a spare. A lot of deliveries in automotive world were just in time. I came from automotive. They wouldn't let us build any inventory. It was all, they called that morning, this is how many drive shafts I need. Well, today's society, just in time is out the door as far as availability of getting parts. You've quoted jobs before, PLCs, drives, vision systems, weeks, months, a year, especially now. So just in time is really, really out the door when it comes to that. The Slick 500 family, who's familiar with the Slicks? How long have they been around? 32 years old, the Slicks have been around, and they are still running manufacturing today. Again, when it comes to product life status with Rockwell, the one thing you want to look at is active, mature, end of life, discontinued. Rockwell rates all the products they build in these categories right here. Active means you're good, green's good, right? Active mature means it's been around a while, but it's still available. They're still making it. End of life, typically when something goes into life, they're going to say, okay, you got about a year or 2, and we're going to discontinue it, okay? Once it goes to discontinued, whatever inventory they got, they'll sell out, but it's not going to be made anymore. So that's where you want to look at. They're not investing any more time in it. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, once we get to here, guys, that's when we need to start making a plan. When it says we got about a year or 2, that's when we want to, as engineers and controls people, we want to start making a plan to get that upgraded. How do we know where we stand, right? How do I know that, what my product is at? One thing you can do is, this is RS Logix 500, right? And I can actually look at the I/O configuration, and I can get my cards right there. So that's slot 0, that's going to be your processor, then 1 through 7 OB16s, input 32s, all that information is right there. Or you can do a physical inventory. Again, checking the part number, or we have things called IBEs. I think Jeff is talking about IBEs today. That's install-based evaluations. That's where they actually go and look and put their hands on every panel, open it up, and do a physical inventory of what you have. And that's very important because there's a lot of information in there. And again, I'll let Jeff talk about that. Product lifestyle status, you can actually take this link right here. You can go on the Rockwell site, and it looks like this. So on the 504 processor, the 16K memory, the 541, it's discontinued. So discontinued date was 2 years ago, pretty much, right? The 504 with the 64K is inactive mature. Like he said, they're not upgrading it or doing anything like that. It's being maintained, but it's still being manufactured. So in Slick world, you know, you can go from here to here. That's not a big deal. It's just memory size. You just got to change your program a little bit. Here's some of the I/O cards in the life status. Again, when they go to the end of life, they'll say, okay, the discontinued date is 2 years from now. They'll put a little asterisk beside that. The asterisk beside it says, depending on availability. For guys who've been around a long time, we used to have remote I/O, right? The old Blue Hose remote I/O. Well, you can't find chips for that anymore. You know, they made it until the chips went away, and now it's gone. So you're kind of stuck. So integrated architecture builder. So what it is, that's a software to lay out and validate control systems in Rockwell world. There's a lot you can do with it. Today we're just going to talk about doing a migration from the Slick 500 to Compact Logix. Very straightforward. You know, where to download it. Again, you should be able to get copies of all these PowerPoints, and you can download it. Within ProposalWorks, there's also integrated architecture. In Rockwell world, I'll say this, the software is free. Unlike programming software, right? This is a free service, and it's free software by Rockwell. And it's used to help aid in situations like this. You're going to remove all the Slick I/O cards and everything, but you're still going to use the wiring that's connected to the Slick. Because if you open up the Slick door, there's actually a little terminal block in there, and that whole terminal block can come out, okay? And this is what the 1492 I/O conversion system is right here. Very economical because it's making your wiring easy. Wiring is time, right? That's where you're going to save it at, is your wiring time.
And that's the downtime.
The what?
Downtime.
Yes, and downtime, exactly. Here's kind of the chassis. There's the back plane, the front cover. There's the chassis. You can see this guy right here. This is actually for a PLC-5. The Slick's going to be a little bit smaller than that, quite a bit. There's the different frame sizes that are available. So do a 4, 7, 10, a 13 slot. And there's just some of the I/O cards. Again, there's documents. I put the link in the very back of the PowerPoint so you can look at those and see what's available. You always want to do an inventory of what you got in the rack and make sure everything is compatible with it. Pretty much it's like a rip and replace. So what we're looking at, and step number one is, you can see right here, unwiring this guy right here. There's 2 screws, one on the top, one on the bottom, and that whole thing comes out so you don't have to unwire it. And that goes all the way across, right? And then you're going to mount the chassis, then you're going to put this little adapter that matches the I/O card that's in the original chassis, okay? Those are going to be put in there, and then you're going to take the original connector there and put it on that slot, same slot. So method number 3, I'm just going to show it right here. So we're taking we're keeping all the I/O cards, right? And we're taking out the processor and we're putting it in this card right up here. It's a 1747 AENTRE for Slicks racks. That's what goes in place of your processor. It's like an Ethernet communication card. But what it's done is it's be able to communicate from the Slick to this guy and then talk to these cards right here, okay? That's a very quick and dirty way of doing it. The only disadvantage I see is you need to make sure that the cards that you select, see those IB16s right there, some of those? They're grayed out. they're discontinued. So we need to make sure the cards that are in there are not on the discontinued rack, right?
Question.
Yes.
So when you start with 0 at the bottom.
Yep.
0, 1, 2, 3, 4. Does it will show in the physical location when, let's say, maintenance person come in, he will know that which is 0, which is 1, 2, 3?
Yeah, typically. In Slick World, the 0 is always the processor rack.
Okay.
I mean, it's always the processor. Control Logix world, you can put multiple processors. It don't care. It just goes on the back plane.
Especially 2, 3, 4 are same, right?
Yeah.
So just to make sure which one he's going to replace or change.
Yeah.
So I'm just trying to see how the position is denominated
Yeah.
physically.
Yeah, it doesn't change. Those stay the same. The original I/O cards stay the same. Same slot, same everything. What changes is the processor. You just pull the processor out and you put that card right there in its place. Again, the only disadvantage I see there is you're still dealing with older I/O cards. But again, if they're still active mature, that might be the way to go.
So say that it carried out one's a BTM module, will that still work?
Well, that's why you got to look at this guy right here, his adapter. Those are the cards. I put that in the link in there. So when you use this guy right here, you want to make sure these cards are what you can use with it. So, and there's cards that are non-supported. Like if in the rack you got a SDN card, that's a scanner card for DeviceNet, right? You're not going to put that in there. It's not going to work with that. It's not a Ethernet to DeviceNet conversion, right? So the DeviceNet card would actually go in this guy.
So if you're doing the first conversion you talked about, say I have 6 BTM modules, is it going to pull up the analog modules or RT modules that I need?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. It'll tell you. So the modules, when I was in the software, it'll actually select, you can select from a list of what's there and what's available. And the conversion, the migrations, they actually have what cards are available to be crossed over like that and wiring and everything. Yeah, that's kind of why I threw that in there, because I didn't want to make the statement, oh, it'll work for everything. No, it don't work for everything. You want to be truthful, right? So any questions about those 3 options in Integrated Architecture Builder? Integrated Architecture Builder is so powerful. I just showed you a little small part of what it can actually do. If you're building networks, things like that, it'll help you with that.